Hello, this is Gwen Lofton, and the purpose of this screencast is to go over some best practices for teacher management of Chromebook carts. If you're viewing this video, then you are one of the lucky teachers in our district who will have access to a new Chromebook cart or Chromebooks and wanted to give you some best practices in order to ensure that these devices last as long as possible. So to begin, it is really important how we manage these devices. And the reason why we want to do this is to best protect the Chromebook and ensure that they last as long as possible for you to continue using them with your students. We have to have some best practices in place that last across the district. Please know that with repeated use, students will quickly learn the procedures. One of the best tips that we can ask you to do is to assign each student a number. It is very important that each student will use the same Chromebook every day. If a Chromebook were to be damaged or something were to happen to it, you always know that it's either one student in particular if you have your own Chromebook cart, or if you share, it's only a small amount of students using that same Chromebook. So the most important thing to understand with Chromebooks is that each student should use the same Chromebook every day. Now, some tips for helping to make sure that happens is we encourage you to print out a list of your class roster that identifies the Chromebook number each student uses. You can post that list on the card itself or in your classroom, but you want to make sure that the students are always using the same Chromebook, and having their number listed next to their roster would help to ensure that happens. We also encourage you to have students write down their Chromebook number on a login card or in a notebook or in a planner or agenda or something like that. If a new student joins your class, just assign him or her an empty number. Don't reorganize or re-alphabetize your list, because then students will be using more than one Chromebook. Now let's talk about distributing Chromebooks. One idea that I love is that you could model for the students when they come into your classroom whether or not they need to pick up their Chromebook. And the easy way to do that is to teach them that if the card is open, students know to pick up their Chromebook on the way into class. And if it's closed, they know not to grab one. And that might be at the beginning of the day, that might be when you're returning to your class after lunch or specials or recess. But you having the cart open signifies to the students to pick up their Chromebook. It is important that you make sure students only get their Chromebook. If they start to carry them for their friends or try and grab multiple, that's when they get dropped. Students should use two hands to carry a Chromebook, and Chromebooks should never be open when the students are walking. You also want to teach the students to always double check that their Chromebook is actually the right number, in case the person who used it before them might have put it in the wrong spot. So you want to teach the kids to make it a habit that if they're pulling out a specific Chromebook from a slot, to make sure that that Chromebook matches the number that they think they're pulling out of the cart. If you are distributing the Chromebooks after the beginning of class, then we encourage you to call students up in groups in order to avoid chaos. So you might call students 1 through 10 or even 1 through 5 up at a time. And once those students have come up, then you can call up the next group, 11 through 20, for example. So we definitely encourage you to pull the students up in small groups to get their computer out of the cart, rather than asking everyone to come at once. This works especially well if class has already started and they're all coming in at once. Now, if anything is wrong with the Chromebooks, the student should notify you right away. This could be that the mouse isn't working, that a key is missing, the internet isn't working, screen is cracked, a label is missing. If anything is wrong with the Chromebook, you want to stress that the students tell you right away. If the device is damaged or requires attention from a tech, you want to contact your school's technician immediately by logging a ticket. Some of these devices are under warranty, and we want to make sure that we get it taken care of immediately. Other times it makes it easier to make sure that the student who damaged it, you can identify more easily if the damage is notified to the teacher right away. So some tips for student care of Chromebooks. We ask that no food or drink be used near the devices. If you help to keep these units clean, they will last longer. We also encourage you and the students to use the device on a flat surface. Using it on your lap increases the risk of damage. Do not attach personal accessories like stickers, headphones, those kinds of things to the Chromebook. And also encourage your students to only use headphones when directed by you or by staff. Otherwise, they do not need to be using headphones. Some logistics in terms of signing into the Chromebook. When the students sign in, they're going to see a blue and white login screen like this. This is where students will sign in using their Granville County email address, which happens to be their username at gcsnc.us. And then they're going to use their computer password. If your students have never changed their password, it's going to be the school's generic password. If needed, contact your instructional technology facilitator, who would be Gwen Lofton for the elementary schools, Jane Steelman for the middle schools, or Leah Powell for the high schools, or contact your school technician if you need any assistance resetting student passwords or have any login issues. Once the students are done using their device, it is very important that they sign out. Because students sign in with Google, it automatically links to their Haiku account, their Google Drive account, Discovery Ed. It's really important that students sign out after every use. So in order to sign out, they would click in the bottom right-hand corner, which is an image icon. In this example, you can see it's a little jellyfish. And then they choose Sign Out in the top right corner of that little box. The other option is they can hold down the power button, which is the key in the top right corner of their keyboard, and continue holding it down without letting go until the whole computer shuts down and the screen turns black. Now, once the students have signed out of the Chromebook, I want to go over some logistics for returning the Chromebooks to the cart. It is easy for the Chromebooks to become disorganized on a cart, and this often happens when students or teachers feel rushed. We strongly encourage that students return Chromebooks to the cart before the bell rings. As was mentioned earlier with distributing them, we encourage you to call up students in groups to put away their Chromebooks to make sure that every Chromebook is put back in the right slot. If you as the teacher are not able to plug in every Chromebook, we encourage you to at least have a select group of responsible students to do it. It is possible to break off the little pin of the power cord in the device, and so you don't want just anyone plugging in the Chromebook. If you are not able to do it all yourself, get a couple of your responsible students to have that job and make sure that every Chromebook is put away, plugged in, and the cart door is secured when you're done using it. Do not let any students leave the classroom until that is finished. Avoiding theft. So we encourage you to never leave the cart unlocked when you're not in the room. You want to make sure that the cart is locked, plugged away, and charging at the end of every day. Remember, the cart is not checked out to the students, it's checked out to you as the teacher, and you are ultimately responsible for its contents. So remember, the cart is checked out to you. Devices should not be used when you are not there. If your class happens to have a substitute, we encourage you to not have students use the devices. It has happened many times in the past where devices get damaged or missing when the classroom teacher happens to be out of the class that day. Keep in mind that there is some cart etiquette. Of course, when you pick up the cart and hope to use it with your students, you want it to be in its best condition. So be sure everything is plugged in and in the correct spot before the cart moves to another teacher. You wouldn't want it to be in disarray when you pick it up, so you want to leave it in a way that you would appreciate picking it up. So in regards to moving the cart, if your cart is one that is going to move, it's important that you know that only teachers should move the carts. Please do not allow students to move the carts anywhere around the classroom or even the school. Before you push the cart, make sure you unplug the power connector from the wall and wrap it around the cord management. When transporting Chromebooks without a cart, please make sure that you as the teacher do not stack more than 4 Chromebooks on top of each other, or else the screens might crack. All right, we have one last slide that we want to go over the school responsibilities. So the following best practices outlined will minimize the damage and prolong the life of the Chromebooks. Please know that if there is a pattern of mistreatment of devices, accessories, or the cart, the following consequences will be enforced. The teacher will lose the privilege of using the cart for a period of time specified by the principal. If there is a repeat offender who continues to return the cart in a way that is not outlined in this presentation, the teacher will lose the rights to the cart, and the principal will determine how long that is. If any devices are broken or any of their components, the chargers, the screens, even if some of them have cases, if the devices are broken, the Granville County Public Schools Technology Department will not be the ones to replace it. It will be the school's responsibility to replace any devices that are broken or components that go missing, such as battery chargers. So this is a policy that we want to make sure is clear as you're a new Chromebook user. Teachers, you are ultimately responsible for the contents of the cart, and if anything is broken, it's the school's responsibility to replace it. We are super excited for you and that you have access to this Chromebook cart now and the devices that are contained inside of it. We look forward to working with you throughout this year, and if you have any questions about Chromebooks, management ideas, you're looking for lesson ideas, we ask that you reach out to your instructional technology facilitator or your school technician. Thanks so much.